The conference room lights dim at 2:47 p.m. 30 pairs of eyes lock onto me. My slides are perfect. I've rehearsed this 17 times. The agenda reads, Project Delta Status Update. Simple. I thought this was my moment to explain what happened. Then Matthew Lang walks in. He's always late to these things. The vice president of operations doesn't need to be punctual. The world waits for him. He's wearing his signature navy suit, the one that costs more than my monthly rent. His silver cufflinks catch the fluorescent light as he settles into the leather chair reserved for executives. He doesn't say hello. He doesn't acknowledge anyone in the room. He just sits there with that familiar smirk, the one I've seen him use before firing people, before shutting down ideas, before dismissing anyone he considers beneath his intelligence level. My throat tightens, but I push forward. Good afternoon, everyone, I say, clicking to slide 1. Thank you all for being here. I want to walk everyone through the decision points that impacted our timeline, starting with the vendor selection process in July. And he interrupts before I finish the sentence. I'll save us all some time, Matthew says, his voice cutting through the room like a blade. He extends his hand toward me. Give me the clicker. It's not a request. It's a command delivered with the casual confidence of someone who has never been questioned. I hesitate for half a second. The kind of hesitation that signals weakness in a room full of corporate sharks. Every eye shifts to me. I hand him the clicker. Feels like handing him a weapon. Matthew stands. He's tall enough that he has to angle his frame under the recessed lighting. Without looking at me, he advances rapidly through my carefully organized slides. Marketing plan, resource allocation, risk assessment, until he reaches the one I was dreading. The red-flagged budget slide. The one showing the 38% cost overrun in bright, undeniable crimson. His voice rises. Not screaming. Worse than screaming. Cold, controlled fury delivered with theatrical precision that makes everyone lean forward. This, he says, pointing at the numbers with the clicker like a prosecutor presenting evidence, is an absolute disaster. The room goes quiet. That kind of quiet where you can hear the air conditioning hum, where you can hear someone's nervous breath, where you can feel the collective discomfort settling over everyone like a thick fog. My colleagues shift in their seats. Some stare at their laptops with sudden, desperate interest. Others study their hands. My VP sponsor, the one who was supposed to have my back, suddenly finds his phone absolutely fascinating. He won't meet my eye. Design flaws, Matthew continues, pacing now like he's performing for an audience he hasn't even considered. Missed milestones. Vendor failures. This is amateur hour. This is what happens when you put someone in charge who doesn't have the strategic vision to think 3 steps ahead. He stops mid-sentence. He pulls up my December email. The one I sent to the entire leadership team 2 months before the failure became catastrophic. The warning everyone promised to address. He reads it aloud. His tone is mocking, dripping with sarcasm that makes people uncomfortable. Alexandra suggests we push back the Phase 2 launch. Scope creep is creating unsustainable risk exposure. Well, so you did see it coming. So you documented your concern. Clearly we should have listened. He pauses for effect. To someone else. Nervous laughter ripples across the table. Not cruel laughter, worse than that. Embarrassed laughter. The kind people use to distance themselves from disaster. Like laughter is a shield against contamination. I keep my hands folded in my lap. My face remains neutral. I've practiced this in the mirror. I've practiced being calm. I've practiced being strong. But inside something crystallizes. Something cold and clear and absolutely focused. Matthew turns to me directly for the first time. His eyes, pale blue, utterly devoid of warmth, bore into mine. Care to explain why you let this happen? The question hangs in the air like poison gas. Silence stretches. 5 seconds. 15. Everyone is waiting for my response. For tears. For anger. For some kind of emotional crack that would confirm his narrative. I don't give it to them. I don't answer. Not yet. Not in this room. Not while he controls the narrative and the lighting and the temperature of the air around us. That's when I make the decision that will take 6 months to execute. Matthew doesn't let the silence breathe for long. He never does. I'm waiting, he says, advancing the slide again. This time it's my entire email thread. The complete chain of warnings I issued over 4 months. Each one progressively more urgent. Each one color-coded in my own system. Yellow for caution, orange for concern, red for critical. He clicks through them like he's reading a comedy routine to an audience. Vendor's track record shows 23% failure rate. I approve them anyway because risk is part of business. You'd rather send emails and make everyone feel incompetent. I'm cataloging, analyzing, starting to think like a prosecutor instead of a victim. If we accelerate timeline, we'll exceed budget by 25 to 30%. You were right. We exceeded it. Your reward is being off this project. He advances through more emails. Each one designed to look like I was an obstacle to progress. The real problem, he says, stopping at the table, is that you couldn't accept that people smarter than you made different decisions. You sent these emails like you were the only adult in the room. Like the rest of us were idiots. We just had different risk tolerance. Sometimes in business you trust your leadership team. Alexandra couldn't do that. But this failure traces back to her inability to course-correct when overridden. That's the lie. That's the foundational lie I'll spend the next 6 months proving wrong. I didn't resist being overridden. I documented it. I flagged every single decision point that led to this catastrophe. The problem isn't that I couldn't accept being overridden. The problem is that he made the overrides and then positioned it like I made the calls. The performance review form lands in my inbox on Friday morning. I read it with the office still quiet. The words are clinical, professional, lethal. Given recent events, we are moving your position to individual contributor track. No leadership potential at this time. I read it 5 times. It's not the demotion. It's the framing. Like the decision was inevitable. Like Matthew's evaluation is fact rather than calculated character assassination. I sit at my desk and open my laptop. First move, remote login to the company SharePoint. I'm still on the access list. Matthew never revoked my permissions. Too confident. Too convinced his narrative had won. The system grants me access. I download the full audit log. By midnight I find it. His approved stamp on the scope expansion request I had rejected 2 weeks earlier. He overruled me. Officially. The documentation proves it. I save the screenshot 3 times in different formats. My hands are steady. Just focus. I'm not sleeping much these days. By 2:17 a.m. I find it. A locked PDF in the governance folder. File name. Vendor notes, 2024 archive. Something tells me to try opening it. I try combinations. Nothing. Then the file was modified 3 weeks ago. Why? I try. Delta Pass 123. PDF opens. Inside, a formal directive. His signature. Date stamped April 3, 2024. His handwriting. Cost savings override concerns. Approved switch to vendor option A per executive authority. That single page. That directive. That's the decision that turned profit into 7-figure loss. He presented it to the board as my recommendation gone wrong. I save it 3 times in different formats. I call in sick Monday morning. It's the first time I've done this in 2 years. HR approves without question. I create a new folder on an external drive. No cloud sync. I title it Timeline, Personal Backup. Inside, I create subfolders for each evidence category and start populating methodically. By 6 p.m. I have 247 files organized into 6 categories, all pointing to the same narrative. I'm reviewing the locked PDF when something clicks. The phrase per executive authority is oddly formal. He's establishing legal justification for overriding my recommendation. He knew what he was doing was controversial. That it violated protocol. I search for board communications from April 3rd. Matthew sent a summary to the board describing the project as on track despite some team concerns about vendor selection. He positioned his override as visionary leadership. But there's no mention of cost impact. No mention of the $220,000 cost increase that would cascade from this decision. He hid the financial consequences from the board. That's not negligence. That's deliberate concealment. I spend the entire day cross-referencing timestamps. Every critical bad decision that impacted Project Delta links back to Matthew's approval within 48 hours of my documented objection. It's like a chess match where I made every correct move and he responded by poisoning the board. I build a color-coded spreadsheet. Green for my warnings. Red for his overrides. Yellow for silence from leadership. Those moments when people above Matthew could have intervened but chose not to. By evening, it's 37 rows long. Row 1, July 8th. My email warning about vendor track record. July 10th. Matthew approves vendor anyway, red. Impact. Sets precedent for ignoring risk analysis. Row 2, July 22nd. My presentation on risk mitigation strategies. July 24th. Matthew implements accelerated timeline instead, red. Impact. Reduces quality assurance window by 60%. On and on. 37 instances. 37 decisions. Each one a domino falling in the direction of catastrophic failure. I add hyperlinks to source files. Every green cell links to my original email or presentation. Every red cell links to Matthew's approval or override. Every yellow cell links to a moment where someone above him could have intervened. I contact Michelle, a forensic accountant, old college friend who owes me a favor. I send her anonymized excerpts of the timeline and decision sequence. Her response comes at midnight. This is sabotage with a paper trail. Whoever signed those approvals is exposed. Keep every original metadata intact. Monday morning. I return to the office. My coworkers expect tears. They expect resignation. They expect the broken remains of someone who's been publicly destroyed. Instead, they get politeness, efficiency, and calm. I arrive at 8:47 a.m. Get coffee. I sit at my desk. I work. Colleagues tiptoe around me. They lower their voices when they talk near my desk, like my humiliation is contagious. Matthew walks past my desk twice in the first hour. The first time, he slows down like he expects a reaction. Tears, anger, something to confirm that his destruction was complete. I give him calm eye contact and a small nod. Professional. Respectful. He falters for half a second. Unused to composure from someone he's humiliated. During lunch, I spend time in the file room pulling hard copy sign-off sheets he thought were buried. 3 of them carry his blue ink signature next to my red, rejected stamp. The contrast is stark. I photograph each one with my phone, using the timestamp feature. The light is good. The contrast is clear. No one could dispute these images. Midweek he calls me into his office. I hope you're using this time productively, he says, leaning back. Learning from mistakes. I nod once. I am. He waits for more. I offer nothing. He dismisses me with a wave. Keep reflecting. As I leave, I notice his monitor, open to the same project dashboard I used to own. He's scrambling to rewrite history. I've already archived yesterday's version. Every edit he makes now only deepens the trail. I return to my desk and add another column. Post-blame alterations. I reach out discreetly to the internal audit team lead. Coffee meeting off-site. If multiple executive overrides led to material loss, what's the escalation path? I ask hypothetically. She answers carefully. Board Ethics Committee, then potentially external regulators if fraud is suspected. She studies my face. This isn't hypothetical, is it? I smile thinly. Just curious. She slides me her direct line. Call if it stops being hypothetical. Seed planted. Friday. Matthew schedules an all-hands to update project status. He presents revised slides. My original framework, now credited to leadership direction. My name nowhere. He praises the new direction that will salvage the initiative. Several people glance at me. I sit in the back row, arms crossed, expression blank. After the meeting, a junior analyst whispers, "That was your plan he just presented." Shrug. Things change. Inside I note the date and time. Another lie added to the ledger. I compile the master file. 142 pages. Fully hyperlinked. Non-editable PDF export with embedded originals. Cover page reads, Project Delta, Decision and Approval Chronology. No accusations, just facts in sequence. I watermark it confidential. For ethics review only. 3 USB drives made, each in a different location. One stays home, one with my friend, one in a safe deposit box. 2 weeks later. Performance review day. Matthew sits across from me, smug. Given recent events, we're moving you to individual contributor track. No leadership potential at this time. He slides the form over. I read it slowly, then look up. Understood. I sign without hesitation. His eyebrows lift, surprised I didn't fight. You're taking this well, he says. I meet his eyes. I've had time to reflect. He doesn't catch the double meaning. HR emails. Company-wide audit announced, routine, but Project Delta flagged for material variance. Matthew panics visibly. I watch from my desk as he emerges from his office, face pale, and immediately calls an emergency leadership team meeting. I'm not invited, I'm below his attention now, but I hear the frantic tone through the office walls. He's demanding old files. He wants the project archive. He wants vendor communications. He wants documentation on early decisions. All of it. All at once. Then he makes a critical mistake. He calls IT and demands that his sent emails from 6 months ago be purged for space management reasons. His voice carries through the open office. This is a retention issue. We need to clear legacy data. I happen to know the IT director through previous projects. By coincidence. Pure coincidence. I receive an autocopy of his response to Matthew's request. Retention policy prohibits deletion of emails older than 2 years for compliance purposes. All communications remain on the server regardless of individual deletion requests. I screenshot it instantly. My hands are calm. No shaking. No emotion. Then I do something even smarter. I download a copy of every email Matthew sent during the critical period. His authorization emails, his override decisions, his communications with the board, his directive to switch vendors. All of it. All available because our company is paranoid about legal liability and maintains complete email archives. By Friday, I have 847 emails from Matthew's account, showing his decision-making process in real time. I add them to a new subfolder. Matthew Communications. Unfiltered record. The first crack appears in his armor. I meet the audit lead off-site. This time I hand over the USB. She schemes the table of contents, eyes widening incrementally as she realizes what she's looking at. The chronological structure. The hyperlinks. The forensic preservation of metadata. This implicates a director-level override chain, she says quietly, still reading. I nod once. It does. She asks no names. Protocol. I'll log it anonymously per whistleblower policy. If it escalates beyond my findings, the ethics committee will contact you directly. You'll be protected. I leave without another word. That night Matthew sends a company-wide email blaming previous team leads for documentation gaps. He's desperately rewriting the narrative, trying to get ahead of what he suspects is coming. But the email is frantic, poorly written, defensive. He sounds like someone who knows the walls are closing in. Too late. The USB is already in the right hands. I finalize my cover letter to the ethics committee with meticulous precision. Every word chosen carefully. No emotion. No accusation. To the board ethics committee. I am submitting the attached chronology for your review. It demonstrates repeated executive-level overrides contrary to documented recommendations, resulting in significant financial exposure to the company. The documentation is forensically preserved with metadata intact. All source files are available for verification. All timestamps are original and unmodified. I am available for any follow-up questions or clarification needed. Respectfully, Alexandra Chen. That's it. No anger. No accusation. Just facts. Just dates. Just signatures. Just consequences in undeniable sequence. I compose this at 11:23 p.m. I read it 3 times. I make no changes. At 11:47 p.m. I click send. I BCC myself so I have a copy in my personal email. Proof of transmission. Proof of timing. The waiting begins now. The waiting is the hardest part. Knowing that the bomb is ticking, knowing that the evidence is in motion, knowing that Matthew has no idea what's coming. But patience is part of the strategy. Patience is what separates real justice from emotional revenge. Monday morning. Security escorts Matthew from his office. No scene. No dramatic confrontation. Just quiet removal of laptop and badge. The kind of security escort that means something serious has been determined in closed rooms, that decisions have been made behind closed doors, that the investigation has moved to action. Whispers explode across Slack immediately. Fired. Investigated. Why is Matthew leaving? Did anyone see what happened? No one knows yet. But the speed of the security escort tells everyone it's something beyond simple termination. Something serious. Something that required HR, legal, and security coordination. Keep working head down. I don't react. I don't celebrate. I don't do anything that would draw attention or suggest satisfaction. Midday, the ethics chair emails me directly. We received your submission. The audit findings and your documentation align with serious governance concerns. Please be available for follow-up questioning at your earliest convenience. I reply immediately. Happy to assist. I'm available at your convenience. Matthew's protege. His chosen successor, the one who was supposed to take over his division, looks pale at the next stand-up meeting. He knows what this means. He knows who was involved in bringing Matthew down. He's calculating how to distance himself from Matthew's actions. The dominoes tip faster now. Arrogance blinded him to how meticulously I had waited. The investigation expands rapidly beyond what I could have predicted. Auditors request my full inbox archive. Not just the project-specific emails, but everything. Every message I've sent or received over the past 18 months. I provide it willingly, immediately. 2,437 emails in total. Every warning preserved in chronological order. Every response documented. Every instance where I recommended caution is there in writing, time-stamped and verified beyond dispute. They discover Matthew's attempt to delete sent items. Server logs show the request time-stamped exactly 4 minutes after the audit notice landed in his inbox. That's not someone concerned about data management. That's someone covering tracks. That's evidence of consciousness of guilt. A fraudulent concealment charge surfaces internally. It's not just bad decision-making anymore. It's evidence destruction. It's obstruction of investigation. It's a criminal-level offense. Colleagues who once laughed nervously now avoid Matthew's empty office like it's contaminated by association. One stops by my desk in the afternoon. David, the one who whispered sorry after the conference room humiliation. Did you know? He asks quietly, carefully, making sure no one else hears. I answer softly. I documented. He nods slowly. Not pity. Respect. He understands that documentation is a form of power. He understands that I didn't rage or demand justice. I just preserved the truth and let it speak for itself. The tide turns quietly. No drama. No vindication ceremony. Just the slow, inevitable collapse of someone who thought he was untouchable. Matthew's lawyer contacts me through HR on a Wednesday afternoon. My client requests a meeting to clarify misunderstandings. He believes you've been given incomplete information and would like the opportunity to present his perspective directly. It would be in everyone's interest to discuss this matter before it escalates further. Translation: he's desperate. He's scared. He wants to negotiate. He wants to make this go away with money or promises or threat. I decline politely via email. All relevant information has been provided to the appropriate channels. I'm not in a position to conduct private discussions about ongoing investigations. Any further communication should go through HR and legal counsel. He tries again the next day. This time he calls my personal cell phone. How he got that number is unclear, but I block it immediately. The harassment is itself evidence of desperation, evidence of consciousness of guilt. The board issues a public memo that afternoon. Leadership transition underway due to governance review. The company remains committed to strong ethical standards and financial accountability. No names, but everyone knows. Matthew's LinkedIn profile goes dark that evening. His email address stops working by Friday. His office remains empty, nameplate removed by facilities. The fall accelerates beyond what I can control now. Has momentum of its own. The truth, once released, doesn't need my help anymore. It moves on its own trajectory. Final interview with external investigators from Finch & Associates. They're professional, thorough, sympathetic to what I've endured. Why did you wait? One of them asks. It's a fair question. You documented all these issues in real time. You could have escalated immediately after the first override. I think about this carefully before answering. It's a moment of honesty about strategy. I needed the complete picture, I say. I wanted it to be irrefutable. If I had gone to HR immediately after the first override, it would have been my word against his word. A single data point. Easy to dismiss. Easy to reframe. But if I waited, documented everything, let the pattern emerge over time, then the evidence speaks for itself. You can't argue with a comprehensive paper trail. They nod with understanding. One investigator, the more senior one, admits off record. His signature is on every material variance. Every cost overrun links back to his authorizations. Textbook scapegoating, approving decisions he later blamed you for not preventing. I've seen this pattern before in fraud cases. It's exactly how powerful people hide misconduct. What will happen? Yes. That's above my pay grade. But I can tell you this. We've referred the case to the board's legal counsel. Depending on what they find, this could go external. EC investigation. Criminal referral. He overstepped significantly. They thank me for the organization of the file. Made our job straightforward, one says. Most whistleblowers show up with a story. You showed up with a case file. I leave the building lighter. Not triumphant. Not angry. Just relieved. The truth no longer lives only in my head. It lives in records. In documents. In files that can be verified and traced. 2 weeks later. The announcement drops company-wide. Effective immediately. Director Matthew Lang has been terminated for cause. Findings indicate violations of fiduciary duty and falsification of records. The company has undertaken immediate remedial governance actions to prevent similar failures. Severance has been forfeited due to the severity of findings. Violation of fiduciary duty. That's the legal term for betraying your obligations to the company and its shareholders. Falsification of records. That's the legal term for fraud. Non-disclosure waived due to severity. That means they're not going to protect his reputation. They're going to let this be known. They're going to make an example of him to other executives who might consider similar behavior. Several senior leaders quietly exit in the following weeks. Not fired. Not forced out. But they resign. Voluntarily. Guilt by association. These are people who were complicit in protecting Matthew, or who didn't question his narrative, or who just realized they were associated with fraud. My old project gets rescoped under new leadership. They bring in someone from outside. Someone with a reputation for ethics and competence and zero tolerance for blame shifting. The first thing she does is review the original project plan. She reinstates my original plan almost verbatim. The risk mitigation strategies, the vendor selection criteria, the timeline recommendations, the budget guardrails. Everything I recommended months ago now becomes official policy. Irony doesn't escape me. The plan that Matthew spent months undermining is now being recognized as the correct approach. I receive a brief email from the new director. We're correcting course. Your earlier work was solid. Thank you for the foundation. I reply. Thank you. Happy to help with the transition if needed. I'm offered my old role back. Plus promotion. We want to recognize your contributions, the new director says in her office. Director of Project Governance. Reports to me. Full authority over vendor selection, budget approval, and risk management. This is the position that should have been yours all along. It's a good offer. A genuinely good offer. The kind of offer that most people in my position would accept immediately. Career resurrection. Vindication. Authority over the very systems that failed. But I've learned something over the past 6 months about myself. I've learned that I don't need this company's validation to know that I was right. I've learned that the path to healing isn't necessarily returning to the place that hurt me. I decline politely. I appreciate this genuinely, but I've accepted a position elsewhere. I've already signed. Truth is, I've already signed with a competitor. Better pay, better culture, better leadership that values transparency. And most importantly, a fresh start where no one knows me as the person who was publicly humiliated. On my last day, I walk past Matthew's old office one final time. The office is empty. Someone from facilities has already prepared it for the next occupant. The nameplate is gone. The desk is cleared. It's like he never existed in this space. I don't smile. I don't gloat. I don't do anything that would suggest satisfaction or vindication. I just keep walking. Closure isn't loud. Closure is final. Months later, I hear through industry contacts that Matthew's reputation has become completely radioactive. No job offers. He's tried interviewing with 3 firms in the area, and all of them have rejected him after background checks surfaced the termination for cause. His professional network, the one he cultivated so carefully over 20 years, has evaporated almost overnight. People he mentored, people who owed him favors, distanced, protective of their own reputations. Board referrals dry up. He was in demand as a board member for multiple non-profits before. Now those opportunities have completely evaporated. No board wants to associate with someone terminated for cause involving fraud and evidence destruction. He posts vague LinkedIn rants about unfair treatment and modern witch hunts against strong leaders and corporate retaliation. His posts get instantly ratioed by former colleagues who describe him as incompetent, dishonest, and manipulative. The comments are brutal. People he worked with for years are publicly distancing themselves, protecting their own credibility. I never comment, never engage, never need to. The files did the talking. The documentation made its case. The truth, supported by timestamps and signatures and recordings and email trails, speaks louder than any comeback narrative he could construct. I start my new role at the competitor. The office is cleaner. People are kinder. The culture is built on transparency rather than blame shifting. First assignment: revamping governance processes for a division that's implementing stronger controls. Making sure what happened at my old company can't happen here. Fitting. I opened my personal archive one last time. All 847 files. All the screenshots. All the documentation I spent 6 months compiling in my apartment late at night. Then I delete it. All of it. I don't need to carry it anymore. The evidence has done its work. The investigation is closed. Matthew is finished. The company has been corrected. The truth is now embedded in official records. The archive goes to the trash bin. Then I empty the trash. Looking back, the humiliation in that conference room was the catalyst, not the wound. He thought shame would break me. He thought the public destruction would leave me unable to function, unable to think, unable to act. He thought tears and rage would be my response to his cruelty. Instead, he got precision. He got methodology. He got a methodical human being who responded to injustice not with emotion but with documentation. Every late night, every screenshot, every timestamp, every hyperlink, every evidence file. They were bricks in a wall that eventually buried him. Not revenge screamed in anger. Justice delivered in silence. Today I sit in a new office in a new city with a new title. The building has floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking mountains instead of urban sprawl. My desk faces the window. No one is watching me. No one is waiting for me to fail. The project that was once called my disaster now runs smoothly under new leadership. The vendor Matthew insisted on. Replaced. The budget he approved. Corrected. The timeline he accelerated. Adjusted. Everything I recommended has been implemented. And everything he overrode has been undone. And I'm finally free of his shadow. The files exposed his signature. The truth did the rest. He destroyed himself through arrogance and poor judgment. I simply documented it all and waited for the right moment. That's the real power. Not rage but patience. Not revenge but evidence. Not destruction but truth.